So here on my channel, we talk a lot about martial arts and more specifically combat as a broad concept. And that includes a lot of things like boxing, kickboxing, combat sports, things you do in rings and cages. But we also talk a lot about street altercations, street fights, right? And it's always cringe to talk about street fights as a concept because it's really something that doesn't require a concept. If you feel a need to make street fighting into a concept in the way that a lot of people in the self-defense industry, Krav Maga guys, and just the broader self-defense industry does, there's probably something wrong. People who talk about street fights as though they're a real thing and they're not just like weird phenomena that occur from time to time, they're either A, lying, or B, there's something very, very wrong with them. They're getting into way too many fights and they need to cool it. They need to cool their jets. But we're going to be talking about how to avoid fights today because we talk a lot about what to do if you end up in a fight on the street with somebody you don't know. Rarely do we ever talk about how to avoid that, and I figure it's about time to do that. When it comes to avoiding a fight, I'm going to talk about those Krav Maga type guys again. A lot of people use loaded terms like verbal judo, and I absolutely positively cannot stand these weird sayings and trite things that people come up with. But whenever you hear someone talk about verbal judo, you can automatically tell that they are full of it because it doesn't actually mean anything to those people. They don't know what they mean by that. Now, verbal judo, the implication of it is supposed to be that you are talking your way out of a situation. Yeah, sure, obviously it's good to try and talk things out, but when somebody says use your verbal judo, that sort of implies that there's a right answer, that there's a trick or something like that. And a lot of the time, there is no trick. I'm going to be talking about one today that you could use that might work, but it's not guaranteed to work. And because of that, I'm not going to sit here and try and act like it's a part of a system or anything like that. It's just a tip for you. I'm just letting you know that if somebody says use your verbal judo, they don't even know what that means because it's not real, because you can try and talk to somebody every now and again, but it might not work. And if it does work, fantastic, but it might not. In addition to that, a lot of these people who would use a term like that, they're the types of people who didn't get into the self-defense industry to sell you fight avoidance. They got into the self-defense industry to sell you how to fight somebody. It's just the truth of the matter. All this stuff about, oh yeah, situational awareness, look both ways before you cross the street, use your verbal judo, all that stuff it's lip service. They pay lip service to it for the most part, but really what they want to teach you is how to actually really hurt somebody. That's part of their job. It is what it is. Like I said, it's fun to be able to teach that stuff. It's good to be able to know, but it's just there's something slimy. There's something slimy about it to me. It's untrustworthy. I find these people to be untrustworthy. When it comes to avoiding a fight, I don't have a system. I don't have anything like that, as I said. However, there is one trick that I learned pretty much by accident that I believe really does work because it's helped me in the past. And even if it doesn't work the way that you want it to, you can use it to immediately judge whether or not you're going to have to act in a real way towards somebody. And I'm going to tell you a story. So I was working night shifts at this grocery store, and when you work night shifts at a grocery store, it's usually not the normal people. It's usually the weirdos like myself that are working there. And in this case, we had like 6 or 7 dudes, and most of them were from the hood and stuff like that. And one of them was an all right guy, but he was a bit of a shit stirrer. These guys figured out that I did MMA. I had a fight coming up, and I told somebody, and they told everybody else. And this shit stirrer walks over to me and he's like, yo, you do MMA? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I could beat your ass in the ring, dude. Now, this dude caught me so off guard that I had no clue what to say or do. He wasn't like physically aggressing upon me or anything like that, but just the way that he came at me verbally like that, saying he could beat my ass, was just like so out of left field for me. I had no clue what to do or say. And the only thing I ended up figuring out to say, I didn't even realize I was going to say this. I just opened my mouth and whatever came out first was the word why. I literally just looked at the guy and I was like, why? Not like why, not like sheepishly like why. I just was genuinely puzzled. I wasn't trying to aggress upon him. I wasn't trying to make myself look meek or anything like that. I was just confused. And this dude looked at me probably even more confused as I was. And he was like, you said you fight. And I was just like, yeah. And then we just sort of walked away from each other. I'm not saying you should use the power of social awkwardness to your advantage or anything like that. What I'm saying is asking that question, why? In my opinion, it's a really great way. And I thought about it more and more, and I realized the reason why that dude was so confused by that is because he was in a state of mind where he was expecting a certain etiquette to play out or a certain sequence of events to play out. He comes over, says he could beat my ass. I say, no, you couldn't. I'd beat your ass. And either A, we just laugh and joke about it, or B, we end up fighting. And when that didn't happen, when I subverted that expectation, again, not even purposefully, but it was subverted nonetheless, he had no clue what to even do himself. So I think in a situation like that, it's good to ask questions. You don't even have to do it the way I did. Instead of saying why, say, hey man, why are we going to fight? I don't want any trouble. Why are we going to fight? When you ask someone a question like that, it gets them to question what's going on, whether they're questioning their motives, whether they're questioning the situation, whether they're questioning whether or not they should mess with you. You're getting them to question something. You're getting them to rethink what is going on in the moment. And because of that, they might be a little bit more likely to decide, you know what, maybe it's not worth it. Maybe I shouldn't do this, right? It interrupts the flow of the situation, especially if you're in a situation where some guy is expecting certain things to go down. You know, he's getting up in your face. He expects you to meet him halfway, match his energy. But instead of matching his energy, you sidestep him. And then he ends up tumbling flat on his face. I mean, hey, try it. You know, try it. At best, it'll work. At worst, it won't work, and you'll be no worse off anyway, because it's not like you were like calling them names or anything like that. You were just trying your best to de-escalate the situation. Now, if it does not work, oh well. Like I said, at the very least, it's not like you're making anything worse, because that is an issue that a lot of people have, is they're trying to de-escalate a situation, but they talk too much, they talk too little. They say the wrong thing, they use the wrong tone of voice, etc., etc. You are also going to be able to judge just how serious this guy is about whatever situation he's in, right? And because of that, if you're like, hey man, why are we going to fight? Like, we're at a bar right now, we're both trying to have fun, why are we going to ruin our own nights and fight like that? I don't think that's a good idea. If you say something like that and he absolutely positively just throws it to the side and he keeps on trying to go at you, well then now you know, okay, this guy is not really interested in speaking. And because of that, you can better ascertain what to do in that situation. Whether it's to try your best to get away, whether it's to keep trying to speak to him, or whether it's a spot where you might have to act first. When it comes down to it, speaking is something that people psychologically they are apt to do. And what I mean by that is when somebody speaks to you, you have this weird need to speak back. In addition to that, when somebody doesn't speak to you, you have this weird need to speak to fill silence. When somebody's speaking, they're usually not throwing punches. And if you're able to get someone to speak to you, you're much more likely to be able to get them to keep speaking until they decide, you know what? I don't feel like being aggressive towards this guy anymore. I don't feel like actually having to fight this guy anymore. So maybe I should just, maybe I should just walk away. If somebody's talking to you, it's giving you an opportunity to try and de-escalate the situation. And because of that, it's a good way to start the conversation, to get that conversation going. So you have a situation, just to recap, where either A, he gets so confused or he rethinks what is going on so that he is like, you know what, fine, I'm not going to fight this guy. 2, you end up in a situation where he's speaking to you and you're able to speak back and you're hopefully able to de-escalate slowly. Or 3, you're in a spot where he's just absolutely positively incapable of being worked with, and because of that, at the very least, you know that you need to take action before he ends up swinging on you. And that is probably one of the best situations you could be in if somebody is trying to get in your face. These Krav Maga guys, they talk about verbal judo and all this stuff, and it's like I said, it's a nice little buzzword that makes you believe that they actually know what they're talking about, but they don't. This is the closest thing to verbal judo that you have. And it really all comes down to how easily you're going to keep your head. And part of being able to keep your head is knowing that there's something you can say in the moment and then a place to go from there. This gives you an opportunity to blurt something out that you don't have to think too hard about and then make a decision after the fact. And that is going to keep you a lot safer than just telling someone, yeah, so use your verbal judo, but then also karate chop them in the neck. It's much better, much easier. But I figured I'd go ahead and share that with you. That is a trick that I have used in a couple of different ways. So like I said, I stumbled upon that by accident. Some guy was trying to test me at work, and I was just that confused. I was that caught off guard. I just blurted something out, and it happened to be the right answer that time. But if you use this, all right, and it helps you out, let me know. Let me know. I'm curious. I want to see if other people have as easy of a time as I have with this little methodology here. And I hope you enjoyed it. All right. If you did, leave a like, sub, and also comment if you have anything to say. I also have a Patreon if you're interested. It's $5 a month for exclusive content as well as early access to videos just like this. Thank you for watching, and until next time, good luck out there.